Hi everyone, it's Dave. Hope you're good. With a video today about perception. Another video about perception. One of the most insightful things I've heard in the last few months, I was listening to a David Icke podcast, and he said how information forms perception, perception instructs behaviour, and then behaviour, from behaviour we have human society. And that's correct, isn't it? You know, because for people, perception is their truth for all of us. But it really is so crucial that we as often as possible, I mean each day, that we consider how we're perceiving things and why we're perceiving things. So let's take, for example, obviously we all know what's happened in the last 2 years, and it was many people's perception that although we were in a small minority, that we weren't being told the full truth by the mainstream media, whereas it was other people's perception that they were, that the governments and media were telling the truth. So you had two sets of people with two very different approaches and two different sets of beliefs and behaviours, and that they were instructed largely or totally on their perception of what they were being told, their perception of what a threat was, the threat was, their perception of life and of what it was that we were dealing with. And my perception has pivoted once again, because only slightly, but it's, as you know, my channel is more concerned not with the who may be the which countries or individuals or organisations may be the dark shadows who are pulling the strings, although I am interested in all that as well. But my main interest is in people, is in human behaviour and psychology and how societies behave, what they represent in value structures and all this kind of thing. And my perception on all of that is, as I say, pivoting once again, because the perception from many in the group of people who at the start of all this correctly identified that they weren't being told the truth, in fact that they were being lied to, the perception of many within that group is still that there has not been a change, there has not been a shift in how the other group are now perceiving things. And by that I mean that it appears to me that many are still using the same labels about people, that they still assume the situation on the ground, i.e. with the general public in real life, you know, offline life, not on the internet, actual real life, that they perceive things still to be how they were, say, this time last year. And for me, that's not the case. For me, my perception and my perceptual pivot has altered, because I no longer see the same types of behaviour that I did, and I see that the situation with the general public has shifted significantly. Now, you would never know this though if you spent all your time on the internet, on the Telegram groups, the Facebook groups, blah blah blah, etc, etc, etc. And this is what the point of this video is all about: perception. Why do we need to question why we're forming our perceptions and how we're forming our perceptions, and even more to the point, we need to make sure that the perceptions that we have on our reality, well, that the reality that we see, so that I can see here, granted there's no people here, but this is the only reality I have at the moment. We need to understand and question whether the reality we can see with our own eyes is that which we are being told by those people who are most influential. So, for example, my reality from March 2020, apart from a couple of weeks where I got lulled into the psychosis. I've done all this before. My reality was that, well, I just didn't see. I did not see with my own eyes what I was being told was happening. So what was I going to trust there? Was I going to trust the mainstream media? Or was I going to trust my own lived experience? I was going to trust my own lived experience, and of course I paid attention to a lot of other people who were saying the same thing. Then there was all the research that was being done and the information that was being shared. So our perceptual awareness, my perceptual awareness, was backed up to a large degree by information. And I tried to ensure that I always left room for doubt that, well, this is my perception, but maybe I'm wrong. And each day I woke up thinking, right, okay, let's review the situation. And each day I came to the same conclusion, not that I knew what the truth was, but that I was being lied to, and certainly that my reality wasn't matching to what I was being told was the reality. But now, fast forward to this morning, so, you know, it tends to be about once a week, me and a few others from our local freedom-loving group, we will go to a local place. So today, just a mile down the road from me, and we'll give out copies of the light paper. And it is the best insight you can get to interact with the general public. So you're away from your own friends and family, and you're definitely away from contacts you have online and all that information that is still ridiculously and relentlessly and obsessively being shared online. You're away from all that, and you have the opportunity to form a new perception, to challenge your perception. And it is surprising, and I'll tell you why, and here's the big positive: because things have changed. The public is, in inverted commas, waking up. Now, how do I know that? I always was willing and wished that I could say those words this time last year when things were grim. And don't get me wrong, we are in huge danger with regard to the overall situation. That's my perspective. However, awareness in the public, amongst the public, is growing exponentially, which is an amazing thing. So thus we reach a critical inflection point where danger meets awareness. That is very, you know, that is the point that we are approaching now, in my opinion. But we need to remember, we really, really do. Let me give you an example, right? So the book I'm writing at the moment, if you want to find out more about the book, just click in the description or the pinned comment and you can see what the book that is due to be released soon is all about. But in essence, it is a study of Western societies that I believe have failed or in revolution, and whereby individual sovereignty, individual rights, the concept of the individual isn't cherished, and instead we look more towards groupthink and statism, top-down control. You know, and I argue about why do we not value ideas, why so many drawn to ideology, all this type of thing. So I talk a lot about the media, I talk a lot about information and its impact on society, on me as well. I talk about perception, I talk about truth. So I try to discuss why we are where we are, and to do that I have to have gone through the process of being reeled into this information war myself, what effect it's had on me, how I've managed to, not completely, but mostly extricate myself from it, and what effect is that having on individuals and, you know, socially, generally, as a collective. I can do that, and I can do this video because I understand to a significant enough degree for me to be able to hopefully provide some value in this video about what perception is and why we need to be careful about how we form our perception. But I've been through it. Now, if I want to write a second book though, what would I write a second book on then if I don't completely step out of the information war? Get out of all the groups. What would I want to be able to write a second book, if indeed I'm inspired enough to write a second book. Inspired as much as possible just by what I see and hear. So I may talk a lot more about nature, for example, if I do a second book. I want my perception to be completely organic for this second book. And I was thinking about it. Look, here's the, I have this inspiration every day, but what is philosophy? For me, it's a philosophy is nurtured, is developed, it shows itself, presents itself, and grows organically through real skills of observing, watching people, seeing the symbolism in things, maybe being inspired definitely by nature. Philosophy is something that is wholly organic and natural. How would I be able to write a philosophical second book, which I'd like to do? I don't know whether I've got the capabilities to do it, but I'd like to, if I'm still mired in this never-ending cycle of information, none of which, or hardly any of which, I know whether it's going to be true or not. Is the source true? What's that person saying this for? Have they got any vested interests? Why is this apocalyptic scenario being painted? And what are the chances of it going to actually materialise? How would I write a book of any value if I'm reeled back in? I consumed a hell of a lot of information because I did want to know why my world had changed so much. But there comes a point where that's not the way forward anymore. I wish people would see this, because that is not the way forward anymore. Not only, I think, it's the question of perception possibly not being addressed enough, but also take the vaccine passports thing. Oh, there's going to be vaccine passports. Oh no, there's not going to be vaccine passports. We're going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're going to do it for large scale events. No, you're not going to need it at all. It changes literally every day. Now for me, I give my opinion quickly on that. It is classic psychological warfare. Confuse people with mixed messaging, contradictory messaging. See, now last year I could have made a comment there, couldn't I, with all them sheep, see? Oh, they're all coming over. Look at this. Facing me down. Right, yeah, so vaccine passports, a lot of people are talking about it at the moment. Will they be needed, won't they be needed? Well, how about we just say, who cares? Stop giving your personal power away. And letting our emotions be dictated to by what somebody on social media has said, about what somebody in government has said, about something that might happen. How ridiculous is it? We're past that point now. Remember, the best way to defeat a tyranny, and this is a tyranny, is to live freely, to remember that we are individuals, to cherish our own individuality, and to assume our own personal power, and don't give it away. It's interesting, because when I do have a little dip in every now and again, always my mood is suppressed all the time. And I don't think it's because of the information, what I'm seeing. I think it's because I know better than to do that now. I know it's unhealthy, and I see it's unhealthy for me, and I think how many other millions of people are engaging in this very unhealthy behaviour, addiction to information. I think it's that rather than the information itself that has that effect on me. So I think that I just want to say, our perception, let's be careful about how we perform our perception on things, because I think with regard to society and people, communities, I think it's more positive than it was in terms of the awareness about what's going on. And that's a good thing, because we need that level of awareness in order for people to, as I say, to begin to realise again those fundamental values that we're born with, those inalienable rights, the right to free speech, free expression, bodily autonomy, you know, to say what you want without it getting censored, all, you know, all of it, freedom of movement, everything. Well, if people are remembering that they're the really important things in life again, that's great. But let's notice that by getting out there and interacting with the people, with the members of the general public, and seeing that things have moved on. So perception is my perception at the moment. There's about 100 sheep over there. There's a church over there. Where is it? You can't see it. I don't know. Why can't? Can you see it there? Yeah, there. Oh, forget it. Nice field there. Trees. It's neither warm nor cold. A bit cool. I'm letting my perception be formed by what I can see and hear, the places that I go to, the people that I speak to, those sheep, that grass, how green it is. That's what I want to do in order to be able to continue to organically develop my life philosophy. Don't want to be dictated to me by information. I want it to be influenced by what other people say to me, but ideally what they say to me when they see me, when I see them, because I treasure independent opinion. But not post after post after post after post after post, going on and on and on and on and on social media. It was useful at one point. Now it's starting to be the opposite. So there we go. Let me know what you think about what I've said here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I do feel it's important. It is for me anyway. I find it liberating again not to be, you know, enslaved and beholden to a greater or smaller or greater degree by information, even though that information was at one point, you know, the conduit to understanding what we were dealing with better. But there's only so much of that, so much understanding from external source that we should want to derive from our life. Let's get back into interacting in the real world. And definitely, I've said this many times before, let's get off social media, let's get off our phones, and let's get out, join the resistance groups, meet like-minded people, get back in the pub, talk to family, friends and neighbours. Let's do all those things that we once really valued, and that a lot of people actually are starting to do again. So yeah, there's my message for today. That's 18 minutes. That's enough of my meanderings for one day, I think, isn't it? Okay, so let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.